So here's a rundown on some of our national and international stories for this Tuesday morning. It's April 11th, 2017. According to the United States, the missiles that were fired last Thursday took out 20% of the Syrian aircraft, and the White House has now laid down another red line. It's no longer simply a matter of chemical attacks. Now they're also going to take other actions for barrel bombs. Also, U.S. officials have concluded that Russia knew in advance about the Syrian sarin gas attack. Once again, a lot of claims, not a whole lot of evidence. Speaking of evidence, Susan Rice has gotten fact-checked over her claim back in January that Syria had, quote, verifiably given up chemical weapons. For that, the fact-checkers have now given her a rating of 4 Pinocchios. Why Vladimir Putin won't back out of Syria? Have you considered this? The United States and a number of other countries putting pressure on Russia. Stop supporting Assad. Well, Russia has been pumping in a whole bunch of money, a whole bunch of military support, a whole bunch of political capital, and trying to keep Assad in power in the struggle against terrorism in that region. Right now, to back out would be the same kind of thing like pulling out of Vietnam. There's a story on that in the international media today as well. Also, the G7 discussions on the radar. A lot of discussion right now on Syria while they're there. And Rex Tillerson, the Secretary of State, has vowed that the United States will hold to account any and all who commit crimes against innocents anywhere in the world. I guess we're going to see a lot more missile strikes going out all over the world. San Bernardino Elementary School, there was a shooting. 2 adults dead, 2 students injured apparently. The shooter knew the person who he shot before shooting himself. I don't know if the children were just accidentally hit along the way or if they were targeted as well. Not a lot of details coming out about that just yet. Also, spyware firms have been, in breach of global sanctions because they've been selling the very items that are supposedly not allowed to be sold to companies or to countries like Iran and Saudi Arabia that are known for their repressive regimes and taking actions against those who express anything critical of their government. And there's a whole expose by Al Jazeera on that. And in Lagos, an entire village was destroyed by police as a, quote, security measure. The United Nations now is investigating that. Looks like Russia's Northern Fleet has undertaken a large-scale combat readiness drill just days after finishing a deployment. And there's a new story saying that migrants from West Africa are being sold in Libyan slave markets. This is openly. It's not simply the black market, the underground kind of slave operations that we've been seeing over the last 20, 30, 40 years. They're now openly selling people in slave markets again in Libya. You hear about what happened on a United Airlines flight out of Chicago on Sunday night. United Airlines, they had overbooked the flight. They asked for volunteers to get off the flight. No one volunteered, so they chose an Asian doctor and his wife and forcibly removed the man. The security forces that came on and did so roughly that he was videoed by other passengers as, they just, hey, look, there's a guy getting beaten. They filmed it, put it on social media. The tweet that went out just showed his bloody face, shared over 11,000 times in just a matter of a few hours. United has issued an apology, and the security forces there in Chicago saying, oh, yes, well, they didn't exactly follow the right procedure, did they? And lastly, a story published in Pravda speaking about the possibility that our solar system may have a second sun, or may have had a second sun at some point. It's an interesting story. You can read about it by following the links at radiofreespeech.com. If you like what I'm doing, please support me either through Patreon or by buying a direct subscription. And remember, all the subscribers get a 30-minute version of the news, audio only, emailed directly to their inbox at 5 a.m. every morning. You can download it and listen to the news on your way to work. Thanks very much. That's radiofreespeech.com.